Do you need water filtration to fix that nasty well water for your family? Not sure where to start? Looking for some advice from the pros? Relax, we've got you covered. Check this out. Hi, I'm Gary the Water Guy, and I simplify water filtration to help you conquer crappy water for your family. Today, Anna's here from our customer service team, and she's going to help me share with you what you should be looking for when investing in a well water filtration system for your family to fix that terrible water. By the end of this video, you'll know what to look for, how to size what you need, and where to find it. And you'll definitely know what to avoid. And if your well water was so bad that you needed everything we talked about here today, this is how it would be arranged. You'd first get rid of the dirt from the water, then you'd get rid of the iron, you'd soften the water, get rid of the tannins if you have them, disinfect the water, and then have a great drinking water system that's also connected up to the fridge. So I'm here with Anna today. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you.
And Anna's with our customer service department, and she helps a lot of you folks that email in with your specific questions about what do I need to fix my water. So I thought she's the perfect person to be involved today with this buyer's guide, and she's going to share with you her wisdom on some of the things to look for when you're shopping for water filtration for your family. And people always say, well, how do you contact us? And this is how. You go to our websites, waterestore.com in the US, waterestore.ca in Canada. We offer free shipping and discount pricing. So, Anna, it's your turn. I've been doing all this yakking so far. You've been chomping at the bit trying to get going. And so generally, what should people be looking for when they're thinking about water filtration?
So the most important things to look for is you want to look for items that are made in North America. And that means that they're going to be more readily available, and parts for those systems are also going to be more readily available.
And I think too, quality, right?
The quality, absolutely.
Because we're talking about water in people's homes, right? We want to make sure that things are reliable and things are going to last a long time. You know, when the Chinese stuff came out in this industry to a large degree about 15 years ago, we tried it. We tried a lot. We tried the UV systems, we tried the water softeners, and it was awful. We had all kinds of problems with them. We had them burst. We had all kinds of things. So you need quality when it's something in your home for your family, right?
Yeah, and you also want to make sure that they are non-proprietary. So what that means is that parts or maintenance pieces such as filters are readily available and pretty much anywhere, not just through the company that you bought the system from. That's an issue that we run into a lot with folks that reach out to us. They have a system that someone installed in their home and they have no idea where to find the replacement filters or UV lamp for it, and when they try calling that company, they're no longer in business. So they are now stuck having to pretty much buy a new system because they can't maintain the one that they already spent so much money on. Another thing that you want to make sure is that there's support available. So if you call the company, do they answer? Do they get back to your emails? Are there YouTube videos like Gary has to support you in knowing how to do the maintenance yourself so you don't have to pay out of pocket for somebody else to come into your home and do it? Ease of installation, that's also very important. And competitive pricing, because of course everybody wants a good deal,
Absolutely.
right?
No, absolutely. And what we run into when we have a lot of the proprietary products, you know, like the old Flintstones cartoon was, you know, they can charge whatever they want, you know, because they're the only place you can get it, right? And so you always have to be aware of that. Okay, so let's start with water softeners. That often when it comes to water filtration, that's the most common thing that people think about is water softeners. What are some good buyer's guides for that? Buyer's guide ideas for that?
So back to what we discuss. It makes your home easier to clean because you don't have that scale buildup, right?
Yeah.
So the main concern usually with hard water is that flaky white stuff that is left on your shower glass door.
This stuff, right?
This is the part that we don't even see, which is what it does to our pipes.
Yeah.
To our plumbing.
Fills up the inside of the pipes. So this was in a local apartment building here, and it took 50 years to get that bad, but all the scale built up layer after layer after layer and actually clogged the pipe.
Yeah. And how it does that to your plumbing, it also does that to your appliances. Unfortunately, appliances don't last as long when there is hard water. So if you do get a water softener, your appliances are going to work better, they're going to last longer, you're not going to spend hours scrubbing your shower, you're going to even use less soap, not just for cleaning, but for laundry, for your hair, less shampoo.
Yep.
Your skin feels so much softer. It makes a huge difference on hair and skin for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, and water softeners help with iron too?
They do. If you have a small amount of iron, so up to a certain amount of iron, it will also eliminate the iron.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what types of water softeners are out there? So you hear about different types. What are some of them?
So there's the standard efficiency and the high efficiency water softeners. The difference between the standard and the high efficiency is basically the amount of salt and water that they use when doing their regeneration, self-cleaning cycles. There's the salt-free water softeners that we hear about. They don't work, so we don't sell
That's
them,
a problem.
and we don't recommend them. Electromagnetic, which I don't know too much about, but I know that we don't sell them. We don't.
Because
they also don't work. Right.
That's the problem. Yeah.
And then the non-hydro options, which you rarely hear about, they are very, very expensive, and they only save about $2 in hydro per year. So also not really worth the extra cost.
So what kind of questions do people ask us typically about water softeners?
They ask how they work.
Yeah.
Which we have great videos on. They ask what the maintenance is like, which is actually great because there's barely any maintenance other than adding the salt and making sure that the salt doesn't get clogged.
Yeah.
They self-clean, as we mentioned previously, so they're very, very low maintenance, and they are easily installed. Some people can even do it themselves with Gary's installation video, and other folks just hire a local licensed plumber, and it's something very easily installed.
Yeah, pretty much every plumber has installed a water softener at some point, so it's pretty easy to do. But as Anna mentioned a little bit earlier, we do have a great YouTube video that shows you how a water softener works, and it's something I definitely encourage you to check out. If you're thinking about investing in a water softener for your family, I think it only makes sense to know how it works, right? So when you're shopping for a water softener, when you're shopping for a car, there's little cars, there's trucks, there's minivans, there's all kinds of other things in between. What kind of considerations are there out there when shopping for a water softener?
So it goes back to what we mentioned in the beginning, those same points. We recommend that you look for something that is made in North America for the higher quality and for a long-lasting piece of equipment. Water softeners can last anywhere between 15 to 20 plus years. So if they're a good quality water softener and well maintained. Again, you don't want, you want to avoid anything that's proprietary, so you want something that's non-proprietary so you can easily find parts if needed. Replacement parts. And metered valves are always the better option to go, because then in that case the water softener will only regenerate when it's used a certain amount of water, as opposed to regenerating even if it's not at capacity, where some of them regenerate every set few days, and sometimes there's no need for it, so you're wasting that salt and that water without necessity. So a metered valve really is the way to go. And then you want to, as Gary mentioned before, try and avoid the big box store water softeners, because unfortunately they don't tend to last as long, and then it's really difficult to get help when you need it. So replacement parts are difficult to get, assistance is very difficult to get. For those reasons, we don't recommend them. That's
right, and the problem is the support just isn't there. I mean, we have folks that contact us. We do installations here locally. We have folks that contact us occasionally, and they say, I bought a water softener, I want you folks to install it. And we install it, but of course we don't warranty the water softener. And what happens, we've had it happen several times, is that we install it, it works fine for a week or 2 weeks, and then suddenly it stops working. Well, what the guy at the big box store says, well, no problem, bring it back, I'll give you your money back. But now they've got to pay us to uninstall it, to drain it, they've got to put it in their car, they got to take it back to the store, they got to get a new one, and then guess what? They got to pay us to, well, no, they got to pay us to reinstall it. So by the time they've done all that, any savings that they might have had for a water softener that's only going to last a few years just isn't worth it. So yeah. So I'm going to share a review with you. So on our e-commerce stores, we get lots of reviews, thousands of reviews now. But anyway, we got this one I'd love to share with you. It's from Jason. The review's from July of this year, and his review has got some good advice before purchasing. Shipping was faster than I expected, and the product's performing very well. Thanks to the awesome videos, the DIY installation was a breeze. The most difficult part was taking off my previous softener from the pipes. Hopefully the system will last for many years. It definitely will, Jason, and thanks for your business. We really appreciate that. And I've got a link to a video down below that helps you size a water softener. And if you need any help with that, we'd be happy to help you. Just send us an email, So here's where you'd be sending the email, info@waterestore.com. Whether you're Canada or the US, it's the same. So info@waterestore.com. And we'd love to help you out. Like I say, we've got some forms for you to fill out. Just give us the information that you have. If you have a water analysis or whatever you have, we'll work with whatever you got. So let's talk about reverse osmosis drinking water systems. These guys here. So Anna, first of all, what does a reverse osmosis drinking water system actually do?
It purifies the water.
Right.
So it takes every impurity out of the water and you end up with pure water.
And why would we want that?
It tastes delicious.
Well, it tastes delicious, yeah. Well,
and it's obviously it's the safest water to drink.
Yeah, it's healthier for you.
It is, it's healthier for you.
Yeah. And what about that nasty chlorine that's in the water and chloramines?
It removes all chemicals, it removes all dirt and debris from the water. It removes all bad minerals and some of the good ones too, but they can be added back in.
That's right.
So it basically just removes everything from the water. The end result is just purified water.
And what's the environmental impact?
So the environmental impact is great because you're no longer using bottled water, so you don't have those disposable plastic bottles, which is great. So it really is the best way to get pure drinking water, the best tasting, best quality drinking water for your home.
Well, no, that's exactly it. And like you say, the environment, you know, we've all seen the pictures of the turtles and the wildlife, you know, that are integrated, sometimes grown right into these plastic things and things like that. Microplastics, we're hearing more and more about the microplastics in water throughout the world now and things like that. So it all helps to get away from that. And what are some types of reverse osmosis systems that are out there?
So there are standard reverse osmosis systems and high efficiency. So the main difference between the two is the amount of water that is wasted when you make the reverse osmosis water. So Gary has a great video explaining how reverse osmosis work, but just basically to really narrow it down, when reverse osmosis water is made, when it removes all the impurities and all the unwanted things from the water and sends them to the drain, water goes with it as well. So basically there's water that's wasted to make water that you're then going to drink. So with the high efficiency ones, they waste less water. They waste half of the amount that the standard efficiency ones waste. So we love our high efficiency Water Saver 75, and that's definitely the one that we sell the most.
This baby right here.
Yeah,
that's the one.
It has other advantages where it has a high flow to the faucet.
Yeah, and it's because of like most reverse osmosis systems have the smaller 1/4 inch tubing right everywhere. So these ones have the larger 3/8 inch tubing that goes from the tank to the last filter to the faucet. And that gives
a higher flow.
Exactly.
Fill that glass or that portable water bottle much quicker.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And then you also have remineralization, as I briefly mentioned before. So you can add a remineralizing filter to your existing reverse osmosis system. So after it's done filtering everything out of the water, it can then go through one last, in this case, 6th filter to add the good minerals back in and to also raise the pH, so it makes the water alkaline.
So what about these 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 stage reverse osmosis systems?
Well, you definitely don't need 10 stages.
No, you don't.
I mean, there are a lot of different stages out there. I would say that 4 is very common. Ours are 5, 6 if you add the remineralizing filter. I really don't see an advantage to having more stages than that.
Well, that's right. There's a sweet spot, right? And 4 to 5 or 4 to 6 is the kind of the sweet spot if you're having remineralization. The problem is if you have less than that, there's not enough carbon filters to protect the membrane, so it shortens the life of the membrane, which is the most expensive filter. You go to the other side, when you start to see the 7, 8, and 9 stage ones, what's happened there is somebody's adding extra filters in that pretty much do nothing, just so they can command a higher price. Ours is better because they're saying theirs is better because they've got 7 or 8 stages. It's got to be better than 5, right?
Right.
Not necessarily. Yeah.
It definitely costs a lot more to replace the filters if you're having 10 filters to replace.
It does. It does. It's usually those guys that come around, that call you around supper time and say they got somebody in your area and they're going to pop by your house, and you won't be able to get rid of them until you spend $3,000 for a reverse osmosis system.
Yes, we've all been there.
Yeah, unfortunately. So what are some frequently asked questions we get?
How does it work? And like I said, Gary has a great video that goes into detail explaining exactly how it works, but basically it just goes through, like I said, in the case of the Water Saver 75, it goes through 4 filters and a membrane, and then it takes the filtered water and puts it into a little storage tank, and then when you open your faucet, the water is actually coming from that storage tank. It's not made immediately, so it does take some time to make the water. That's why there's a storage tank that comes with it. And Gary does have an installation video for the reverse osmosis systems as well, not just the Water Saver 75, but all reverse osmosis systems. You can also connect them to your fridge if you have a fridge that dispenses water and or makes ice, so you can actually tee off the reverse osmosis system and have the water go to your fridge as well, which is great.
Yeah, no, for sure. So Anna was talking a little bit earlier there about how the reverse osmosis system works, and it's a bit of a process. So definitely encourage you to check out this video for yourself. And again, I've got a link in the description down below, so you can check that out and see if that's something that you're interested in. And then the other thing too that Anna was talking about was people talk about reverse osmosis removing some of the good minerals from the water, and it does remove some of the good minerals of the water, but the trade-off is phenomenal. The bad stuff that it removes is far greater than the little bit of good stuff that it removes. So I made this video, and again, I encourage you to check that out. There's a link in the description down below about the myths and misconceptions, which is incredibly hard to say about that. So when you're shopping for a reverse osmosis system, what should people be looking for?
Again, the made in North America, you want to make sure.
It's a common theme.
Yeah, it's a common theme, especially here at Water e-Store. This is where it's really crucial for the non-proprietary issue, because you definitely want a non-proprietary reverse osmosis system. If you get something that's proprietary, again, you will only be able to get the filters through that brand, through that company. It really limits the availability, how quickly you can get the filters. In many cases, some companies go out of business and then you can't get them at all. So it's definitely a huge point, especially with reverse osmosis systems.
And the cost.
The cost also.
Some of those proprietary ones out there, one filter is more expensive than all 4 of the filters that go into the Water Saver 75.
Yes, in fact, we've had some customers reach out where we were able to inquire about the prices for the replacement filters, but the cost was going to be more than them buying a brand new reverse osmosis system from us, which I know sounds really hard to believe, but it has happened. So yeah, our filters are non-proprietary. You can of course get them through us. We do sell them in bundles at a discounted price, but you can also find them anywhere else that sells filters. So that's always
for sure.
a bonus.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Gary touched on this earlier too, the size of the tubing of the reverse osmosis system. If it's a 1/4-inch tubing, then it will have a slower flow than the 3/8 tubing, as we had mentioned. You always want to, again, look for support, and whether that's in the form of customer service, helpful videos, troubleshooting videos, things like that. That's also important to look for. And high efficiency. If you can get an option that's high efficiency, then it's definitely better for your water bill and for the environment.
And what about tips? Like, someone's invested in a reverse osmosis system. What are some tips that you can share with folks? So
you want to replace the filters once a year. The membrane doesn't have to be replaced every year. No. That one can be replaced about every 5 years, but the other 4 filters, you want to replace them annually to always maintain quality drinking water. You can install the system. Most commonly it's installed under the sink, but you can, in some situations, install them in your basement if you have a basement.
Yeah, that's where mine is.
Yeah, so if it's, as long as it's 10 feet or less,
You know, it can
away?
even be 20, but I wouldn't go more than 20.
Okay. So as long as it's within 20 feet of distance from where you're going to have the faucet, which is most commonly at your kitchen sink, then you don't need a booster pump. If it's further away than that, then you can still do it, but you're going to need help with a little booster pump.
Yeah, actually a delivery pump. Yeah. What about your fridge?
Yes, so you can connect it to your fridge, so you can have the designated faucet for your RO water, and then you can also get RO water from your fridge if you can connect it there. And it's also great water to use on your humidifier, your portable humidifiers at home.
This time of year, people have small humidifiers in their bedrooms, and if you use just hard water or even just tap water that's been softened, you still have those minerals behind it, and you have to constantly be cleaning those things, and they are a pain. So we've got another review here, and this one, this is from Todd, and it's from February of this year. Water Saver 75 reverse osmosis system. Ever since I ran across this store, it's been very satisfying. Gary and his team go over the top to help with every need, even with the hard times with COVID and dealing with shipping problems that was out of their control. They always kept you up to date when supplies were supposed to show up, and in the end they still came sooner than expected. His YouTube videos have all the info you need to install your system properly. Any questions I had about the install, he always emailed back in a very quick manner. Can't say enough good about his company. Will be a very long time customer in the years to come. Recommend to anybody that has water needs. Well, thanks, Todd. I really appreciate your comments. So what types of UV systems are out there?
So there are different number of stages of UV systems. So you can get a 2-stage, you can get a 3-stage. You can also add a pre-filter plus 3-stage UV. So basically a 3-stage UV is the most common.
Yeah, and that's this one back here. Sorry, it's a little bit hard for you to see, but it has a sediment filter, a carbon filter, and the ultraviolet light, all in one unit. And it all comes put together. So basically you put a line in and a line out.
Yeah, comes on a mounting bracket already and everything. They're great, so very easy to install.
And what about if you just want to have, just worried about your drinking water, you're not worried about the water in the whole house?
You can do a reverse osmosis system with a UV light.
Right, you can get a small UV light that you would just add onto the top. So frequently asked questions, what do people ask us about UV?
How does it work? Where should it be installed? How is it installed? And can I do the maintenance myself, changing the filters, changing the UV light? Those are the main questions. And Gary has great videos showing how to install it, how they work, obviously, how to install them, and also how to do the changing of the filters and UV light, which is probably our most viewed videos are exactly those maintenance videos. I mean, I send them daily to numerous customers that, you know, order the replacement filters from us, and they're like, great, now what do I do with it? How do I change it? Well, here you go. Here's a great video showing you step by step how to do it. So that's a great thing about our systems, is that they're pretty easy to do maintenance on yourself.
Which we encourage.
Which we encourage, yeah. Absolutely.
And what about sizing?
That has to do with the plumbing.
Right, so the flow rate, right?
Yes.
So as you can appreciate, water has they're sized by flow rate, and that's what often when you see big box stores have them on sale, they have these little wee 5 gallon per minute ones and things like that. Well, if your home has 2 or 3 bathrooms, you're going to be putting through water much quicker than 5 gallons per minute, so you'll be putting through water quicker than it can kill the bacteria. So it's not going to help you at all. So that's important to know the flow rate that you have, or at least to give us some information so that we can kind of approximate the flow rate and find out, do you need a 5 or an 8 or a 15, you know, depending on your situation, you know. And again, as Anna mentioned, I have a great YouTube video that explains how these things work. And as always, there's a link in the description down below that you can check that out. So when folks are thinking about an ultraviolet disinfection system, what should they be looking for? What things should they look for?
One thing that I wanted to mention is it is important if you are considering getting a UV system, because you know that there's bacteria in your well water or you're drawing from a lake, and you either know there's bacteria or you want to just avoid it altogether, you want to get a UV system. It is important to test the water for other things to make sure that that UV system is going to work properly, because if there are, for example, if you're drawing from a lake lake and there are tannins in the water, there's a lot of color in the water, then that will compromise the effectiveness of the UV system. If you're drawing from a lake and you have either high iron or really high hardness, that too will compromise how effective that UV system will be. So we never want you to invest in something that is actually not going to work to its full potential for you. So we encourage you to ask us the questions and to send us your water. We'll test it so that we can make the best recommendation possible to make sure that what you're purchasing is actually going to work to fix the problem at hand. Right?
Yeah, so if you have tannins or you have iron, does that mean you can't have a UV?
You absolutely can. We just need to treat those other things first.
To fix the rest of your water first, right?
So then you've decided now you're ready to choose a UV system. You want to, again, preferably get something that is made in North America and avoid the Asian brands because they tend to just not last as long, and it can be very difficult to get replacement and maintenance parts for them. Non-proprietary, again, there's going to be replacement parts like UV lamps and sediment carbon filters, so you want to make sure that those are readily available and that you can get them anywhere if needed. We do also sell those in bundles for the systems that we sell, which is a great bonus.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to touch on, Anna was talking there about specifically the Chinese UV system. So one of our new installers, Matthew, was out and doing some work, did the service on the UV, replaced the lamp, and clean the sleeve. It's one of these sleeves where the sleeve fits in and then you have to center it, and but those ones, there's just so little space at either end that it's almost impossible to hold the sleeve in place, put the O-rings on and tighten up the collars on both ends without shifting the sleeve. And so what happened was he put it in, and then we got a call the next day that it was leaking. And it's because the sleeve had shifted just almost a hair, and that's what caused the leak. And I wasn't actually surprised because the same thing happened to me several years ago with that same brand, which is why we don't sell that brand anymore. So that's what I mean. It's one of the problems we found with the Chinese-made UV systems is they're super hard to do your own maintenance on. And I mean really hard. And we apologized to the customer, obviously, about the situation and that. And she just laughed it off. She said, before I called you guys, I had 2 plumbers in here. They could never get it to work.
Wow.
So, you don't want to be stuck with something like that. That's a nightmare. And ownership tips, you've invested in a UV for your family?
Yes. So you want to make sure that you replace the filters. Typically filters are replaced once a year. So you replace them at the same time that you replace the UV lamp, because the UV lamp needs to be replaced once a year or every 365 days to be exact.
And it beeps to tell us.
And it beeps to tell you. So it starts beeping actually a couple of weeks before the 365 days are up. So it gives you time to say, hey, you got to email Water eStore and tell them you need a new lamp.
That's right.
So you want to make sure that you replace everything once a year when it's supposed to be replaced. With the filters, in some situations you might need to replace the filters more frequently than once a year. If, for example, you have higher sediment, higher dirt and debris content coming into your water, sometimes those filters will clog up a little quicker, but that is completely normal. It just depends on where you're drawing from and what is in your water, that's all. But most commonly once a year for the filters and the UV light.
Yeah, when you do the installation, something you have to bear in mind too is that, for example, our Hume Safe Water 10, which is our most popular UV system, well, the lamp needs to get changed out of the top.
Yes.
So if you install it, let's say underneath a cottage or something like that, or underneath a beam, and you put it too close to the floor, now you can't get that out. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. Yes. Right. When you're installing it to allow for that. And again, we talk about that in our videos.
One good thing about ours is that they're reversible, so you can either install them with the UV cylinder to the right or to the left. You can do them, which is very helpful in some situations. Very helpful,
because there's nothing worse than having to run the plumbing from the right all the way to the left and then have it come back and then run all the way back again, so you're crisscrossing. And it doesn't make for a very neat job.
And if you do have a short space, then there are options, UV system options that have the lamp horizontally. So if you have width but you don't have height to work with, then there are other configurations available as well.
Yeah, and we can help you with that selection process as part of it. And then the disinfection.
Yes, a very important tip is to disinfect your plumbing when you install your UV system for the first time. So you want to make sure that you disinfect all of your household plumbing, because if you did have bacteria, then that bacteria has traveled into your plumbing and is living in there. So you want to make sure that you disinfect that. Usually we just use bleach. Yep. Mixed with water, and you just run that through the pipes, through all your appliances, disinfects everything, then you put the filters in, and away you go.
Yeah, no, exactly. So we've got a review here from Miguel, and he says, good product and works perfectly, really good product, easy to install. Man, a few words, but I like what you're saying there, Miguel. And our next topic is UV filter change bundles. What are we talking about with that?
So we have created bundles for most of the UV systems that we sell.
The rack systems, yeah.
Yeah, so just to make it easier and offer them at a reduced cost for our customers.
So before we created this bundle, if you had a rack system, what did you have to do?
You had to buy the filters individually and buy the lamp.
And figure out what you needed?
Yes, figure out which sediment filter you needed, which carbon filter you needed, what size, what micron, figure out what UV lamp you needed, what sleeve goes with it, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So now we offer a range of bundles for many different types of UV systems where you can get the filters and the lamp. We also offer the same bundle where you can get the filters, the lamp, and the sleeve. So you don't always have to buy the sleeve, but we do also offer that option.
And what's in it for these folks buying the bundles?
So they're always at a reduced cost because we're bundling it, so we cut the price, so it's way cheaper than purchasing each item individually.
And one of the reasons we can do that is because we offer free shipping. So the idea is if we put it all together in a bundle and ship it all to you at once, it's cheaper than us shipping 3 different things to you.
That's right.
Right? And of course, it's a Viqua system like this IHS 12D4 behind us here. It's the actual OEM filters, the actual OEM lamp.
Yes.
So you know it's the right stuff. It's not some Chinese knockoff or something like that that may be compromised in quality. It's the actual stuff. And it's the same with the Hume Safe Water 10, right? What about subscriptions? Yeah,
so if you want to make it easier so that you don't always have to remember to order the filters and the UV lamp, you know, that time of year when it's due, you can actually set yourself up for a subscription through our website, and you'll automatically get sent that same bundle every year, or just the UV lamp, or just the filters, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, no, exactly. So when it comes to the filter change bundles, there's different types, right? What are some of the brands that we have available?
So for the filters and UV lights, we have Viqua, we have the Hume line, UV Dynamics, we have Pura, and we have more coming. Yeah, more coming, that's right, exactly. And we also have just the combo packs too, right, with just the filters? With just the filters. So we have combo packs with just filters, we have combo packs with filters, lamp, and we have combo packs with filter, lamp, and sleeve. Right. So what are some of the questions people ask us about these things? Is this the right set of bundles for me? That's so right. If you don't have a system that you purchased from us, you can email us, include a photo of your system and like the model number, the brand, any information you have on it, and we will figure it out. We will find out what filters, what lamp you need. And if there's a bundle available for you? If there's a bundle available, then great. If not, we'll at least let you know which parts you need. Yeah, and then the videos help folks to do it themselves, right? That's right. Here's an example of one of the videos, for example, for this Viqua IHS 12D4, which is a very popular system, by the way. And again, there's a video there that shows you that whole process and makes it pretty painless. When it comes to those kinds of bundles and those kinds of things, what should people be looking for? So you should make sure that you are getting the right brand for your system. So if you have a UV Dynamics system, you want to make sure that the lamp that you're getting is genuine UV Dynamics. Viqua, you want to make sure, you know, and Viqua is the same as Trojan and Sterilite. They're all the same company. You want to make sure that you're getting a genuine Viqua lamp, because there are a lot of fakes out there.
Yeah, knockoffs.
And they're knockoffs that are offered at a lower price, and unfortunately what they do is they tend to fry the system.
Yeah,
and then
unfortunately.
And then you have to, in many cases, purchase a new controller, which is extremely expensive, or in worst cases, purchase a whole new system. So definitely not worth saving a couple of dollars on a knockoff lamp. Always make sure they're genuine, same brand lamps.
And tech support is always a good thing too, right?
Yes.
And so we offer a level of tech support here. Obviously, you know, Anna's doing that on a daily basis. I help out, and so do the other folks that are here too. But the manufacturers have tech support.
Yeah.
And the problem is if you purchase one of those, let's say UV system from Amazon, and it's one of the Chinese brands, good luck trying to get tech support for that.
Yeah. Quite often, I have to rely on the tech support that the company offers.
Absolutely.
So sometimes a customer will call or email us, and they have a system that I'm not familiar with, but I know that it's a UV Dynamics brand. I'll contact them, or it's an issue that I'm not familiar with. I'll contact them, and it's important for us too to have that support if we need it as well,
absolutely.
Right? So Viqua and UV Dynamics are great for that.
And ownership tips when it comes to filter change bundles and things like that?
Replacing the filters and lamp in a timely manner. You want to make sure that if you can't get your sleeve clean, if it doesn't come perfectly clean where it's clear so that the light from the lamp can shine through it perfectly, if you can't get it clean, replace it. If you break it, replace it. Even if it's just a crack, replace it, because if not, it's going to cause a leak, and again, it'll destroy the system. So you want to replace it if needed. And we also recommend, especially now more than ever, we recommend a surge suppressor, because we've been having so many more power outages. They're just more and more frequent, I think, everywhere. Storms are more frequent everywhere. So we definitely recommend those for not just your UV systems, but, you know, these guys too.
Cheap insurance.
Yeah, definitely.
So we got a little review here from Charlie H. I ordered the package as one complete set, and the filters and UV bulb came on time, and everything was nicely packaged. I installed everything with no problems. I would order this again when the time comes to replace the filters. Well, thank you for your business, Charlie. I appreciate that. Anna, let's talk about iron and sulfur filters. What should people be looking? What do they do, first of all?
They get rid of stinky water.
Yeah.
That sulfur, that rotten egg smell.
Right.
So they do that. They get rid of iron. Iron is usually what gives that orange staining. You get like that orange staining happening in your fixtures, in your toilet. That if you have that, that's usually iron. Or you can sometimes even smell. It smells like blood, like metal. And if you're drinking it, you definitely taste it for sure. So that's what the iron and sulfur filters get rid of. Yeah. And ours are chemical free. They're air injection systems. There are no filters to replace, virtually no maintenance. They don't, unlike a water softener, they don't need salt to self-clean or anything like that. They just use the air pressure to the air bubble to clean themselves.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we have different models and that available, and I've got a great YouTube video that kind of breaks it down and helps you select which model is best for you. Obviously, we can help you with that selection process. Yeah, so like I say, we have a few different models, and it depends on a few different parameters, what's best for you. And if you're not 100% sure, just send us an email. We'll help figure that out for you. And so let's talk about some different types of iron and sulfur filters. What's out?
Well, there's chemical injection. Out there, which we don't do, but they are out there. There's ozone systems, which I also am not too familiar with, because we also don't.
Yeah, so the problem with ozone, we used to sell ozone systems many years ago, and the problem is they were used in conjunction with these valves. Well, the problem was these valves are not compatible with ozone. So when they get ozone into it, starts to break down the plastics, and then you have problems. And ozone, it was kind of sold as kind of, it does a whole pile of things, and a lot of the things they said it did, it really didn't do. Yeah, so we've really shied away from those. And so we're more on the chemical-free side, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the green sand systems, which were, they're an older system.
Yeah,
right?
Older technology. They use a chemical powder that once it's dissolved in water becomes a chemical called potassium permanganate. And what that does, it's a real heavy-duty oxidizer. Now they worked really well at getting rid of iron and sulfur, but the problem was that potassium permanganate ends up in your septic system, which is far worse than any chlorine you could put in your septic system. So it's really hard on the septic system. So we've really gotten away from that years ago, because they were quite problematic. What are some common questions people ask about these?
How do they work?
Yeah.
Right? Which, again, you have great videos explaining exactly how they work. People often ask also, if I get an iron filter, an FOC, an FOB, do I still need a water softener? And yes, unfortunately, if you have hard water, an iron filter is not going to soften the water. So you would still need a water softener. Can I install myself? That's another common question, which many people can. Again, it's similar to a water softener. If you can't do it, a plumber can easily do it. They're not complicated to install. Gary does also have installation videos on them.
Yeah, and the thing is, installation-wise, they're actually even easier to install than a water softener.
Right.
So anyone that's ever installed a water softener can install a chemical-free iron filter, no problems. And so again, what should people be looking for when they're shopping for an iron filter?
Well, one thing that's really important before you purchase, again, we encourage you to reach out to us for us to help you determine what size you would need based on your water chemistry, and also, very important, do you have enough flow rate to accommodate one of these systems? Because if you don't, then they won't work, because they won't be able to self-clean. So it's very, very important that we confirm your flow rate to make sure that one of these guys will work for you. And then you want to make sure that, again, it's made in North America for higher quality and a longer lasting system, non-proprietary, so that you can get replacement parts if and when needed. You may want to make sure to avoid big box stores, again, for the same reasons we mentioned previously. They don't offer any support. Getting replacement parts is very complicated. Yeah. It's usually best to go with something that's non-proprietary and that is readily and easily available for not only support but maintenance parts, and etc.
Yeah, and you'll find that I've come across this a few times. Some of the big box stores will sell something called water conditioner or something like that, and it'll say in the information that it gets rid of sand, it gets rid of iron, it gets rid of sulfur, it does all these things, you know. And it might do a little bit of that, but it's not an actual iron filter. Right. And so then again, people get stuck with these things. It doesn't do what they want it to do, and then it becomes a big problem. So, you know, that's something we definitely want to avoid. And so once someone's decided to invest in an iron sulfur filter, like one of our FOB, FOCs, or FOKs, what should they expect once they get it home?
Well, they are pretty silent most of the time, but when they do regenerate, so when they do their self-cleaning, they're a little noisy.
First 5 seconds.
Yeah, just in the beginning. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you program it to self-clean at a time that's not going to be disturbing and, you know, for example, wake you up or something like that.
That's right. So we have an FOK in our house, and so we never hear it like going off at night. But you know, if it's a situation where it's in a basement and there's a bedroom next door, they might very well hear it. Exactly. So then it would just have to be programmed for a different time. What else do they need to be concerned about?
So these guys need to regenerate every 3 days. Yeah. So they're set, they have to be on a set schedule to regenerate every 3 days. If you do have a water softener and a UV system, these go before that. It'll go iron filter, water softener, UV. And you have a really good video actually on that explains the order that everything goes in. So that's very helpful if you have multiple filtration systems.
Yeah, because it's important which goes first, which goes second, and things like that, and to get the maximum life out of your system, and that's what we encourage here. So we've got a nice review here, and this one's from Lance, and Gary reviewed our well water lab report and recommended this iron filter as part of a new water filtration system. It's a game changer. All that nasty rotten egg smell is gone, and so is the orange stain in the toilet tank from iron in the water. No chemicals needed and simple to set up and operate. Thanks for your business, Lance, and thanks for that nice review. We appreciate that. So, brown water, it could be iron, it could be...
tannins.
So Anna, what's a tannin filter?
Tannins are organic matter in the water. It's that tea color, most commonly found in lake water. Yeah. And so, you know, some...
But not exclusively.
Not exclusively. Some shallow wells can also have tannins, but it is just organic matter. So it's not particularly harmful to you, but it is quite ugly, isn't it?
That's right. And it stains.
And it stains everything. And if you do have a UV system, brown water can also prevent your UV system from actually working and from actually killing that bacteria. So it is a nuisance, and it can be fixed.
Again, if you're looking for some more information about that, I have a YouTube video that talks a little bit about tannins in your water, talks about different types of tannin filters, cartridge filters, and things like that. And again, there's a link in the description down below. Tannin filter isn't an inexpensive piece of equipment. It's actually quite costly piece of equipment. And sometimes people will say, well, I'm just going to get a tannin cartridge. Beware of tannin cartridges. And why is that, Anna?
They too are costly. They only filter a limited amount of water.
Very little.
Yeah, I mean, they come in different sizes. You can get them, that's the smallest size. You can get that width, but 20 inches. You can also get them up to a 20-inch Big Blue. That's the biggest cartridge. And even that, you know, for a 3-person household would...
Yeah, they're only good for 700 gallons.
Yeah,
so like if you have...
laundry a couple of times.
Well, that's exactly it. You wouldn't get a whole month out of it, and they're more than, I think they're around a couple $100 or more.
Oh, they're more than that.
Are they now? Yeah. So as you can see, it's false economy. So you really need to look at a proper tannin filter, right? What's a tannin filter look like?
It looks like a water softener.
Exactly like a water softener.
It does.
Yeah. The only difference is what's inside.
The media that's inside the tank.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah. And so if I just have some tannins in my water, maybe it's a small cottage, maybe I'm not that picky, and I really just care about my drinking water. Is there another way to get rid of tannins?
Yeah, you can get a reverse osmosis system. So if it doesn't bother you for, you know, the showering and all of that, it's just your cottage, you're not even doing laundry there, you just want to have safe drinking water, you can get a reverse osmosis system. And we actually have the Hume Water Saver 75 with the cottage package. So it comes with tannin filter cartridge in it, and you can also get it with a UV light to kill the bacteria.
Absolutely. So there's a bunch of options that are there. So we already talked about what tannins are. We talked a little bit about the tannin filter works exactly the same as a water softener, right?
Yeah.
Uses salt, except when it comes to salt,
it uses way more than a water softener.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Sad but true.
It uses a lot more salt.
Yeah. Usually a 1 cubic foot tannin filter, which is kind of, you know, the most common size, usually goes through about 3 40-pound bags of salt a month. So just kind of keep that in mind. And can folks install one themselves?
Yeah, your videos on how to install a water softener are the same for installing tannin filters. So some folk can watch that and feel that they're able to install it themselves. If not, then any local licensed plumber can do it too.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some considerations when folks are thinking about tannin filters? What should they be shopping for?
So you want to find something that is high quality. So made in North America is always going to be a higher quality for sure. Non-proprietary again, so that you can easily find parts if anything needs to be replaced maintenance-wise. You want to make sure that there's support available, whether that's in videos, customer support, someone, you know, that you can email and get some questions answered. You want to make sure that you get the correct size of a system, so you want to make sure that the system that you end up buying is actually going to eliminate the amount of tannins that you have in your water. So again, that comes down to testing and getting help from professionals to get
But you don't want to oversize it because of the salt usage, right?
Oh,
you know, so you have to realize it's going to go through a regeneration cycle every 3 days. So you don't want to oversize it because then it's going to be using even more salt. Yeah.
Right. There's metered valves on these guys too, right?
Yeah, so what happens is that for a 1 cubic foot tannin filter, for example, it'll give you 500 gallons of capacity or 3 days, whichever comes first. So if it's a cottage, you're there on the weekend and you've got a whole bunch of people over and they're showering and doing all of this stuff, you may blow through 500 gallons in a day. So at least it'll go through that regeneration cycle. You'll still have lots of tannin-free water the next day.
But then on the opposite side, if you're not there during the week, it's not going to be cleaning itself not needing to because water's not being used. But
it will after 3 days. So what I recommend is if you're going to be away for a while, shut off your water. If you shut off your water, it's not going to regenerate, it's not going to use that salt.
Right.
and that's a good tip. And we talked about the 3 bags of salt a month, which is unfortunate, but that's how it is. And like I say, shut it off when you go away. And the other thing, consideration, a carbon filter.
Yes, so the tannin filter can leave, after the water has been filtered through it, it can leave a potential fishy smell.
Yeah.
That's solved by just having a cartridge carbon filter placed after the tannin filter, so that you can eliminate that chance of that fishy smell.
Yeah, exactly. And something else you have to be aware of too is that pH. The tannin filters tend to lower the pH of your water. So if you're starting off with relatively low pH water and you put it through a tannin filter, it'll lower it even more. So you may have to put in a calcite filter to bring the pH back up, so you don't start getting corrosion in your plumbing and things like that. So it's definitely something. And we've got another review here from Harry B. And this is from July of this year. The knowledgeable and helpful support provided by Gary and his team has provided my wife and I confidence in our water supply for our expanding multi-generational family. The ability of the water e-store to tailor to my needs and the exceptional follow-through confirms that e-commerce can provide efficient and personalized service. Thank you, Gary, Colleen, and all. Thanks, Harry, for that. I appreciate that. And for your business, of course. Click here for your next video on water filtration, and I'll see you there. Any questions or comments? Add them down below.